Hello, today I would like to talk about what to do if somebody is calling you by the wrong first name or mispronouncing your name. Okay, what do you do? So no matter what we do here, it's going to be a little bit of an awkward conversation, but it's definitely worth having. And there are certain things you can do to make it a little bit less awkward. Okay, so let's take the first scenario. Imagine that somebody is repeatedly mispronouncing your name. Now, you may have corrected them in the past, and if that is the case, that you've corrected them and they still can't get it, at that point, I would evaluate whether or not it's worth to keep on correcting them. Some people are just horrible at this. It's not, the intent is fine. It has positive intent. They don't mean to mispronounce your name, but some people just have horrible pronunciation of certain names, so they just can't pronounce it. And at that point, maybe you have to take the high road and be gracious about it. I know it's still annoying. It's still challenging for you to hear your name being mispronounced, but there might not be anything you can do. And bringing it up again may be more embarrassing than just taking the high road and letting it go. If it's on a legal document, for example, then obviously this needs to be brought to attention. So what do you do if somebody is calling you, Sarah and your name is Sana instead? And clearly that will be an issue if they're issuing a ticket for you, or there's a legal document that needs to be notarized or something like this, and they put your name as Sarah and it's Sana instead. At that point, then I would just address what the underlying concern would be, which is that you don't want to make more work for them to have to redo it or issues later, so you just want to bring it to their attention. So for example, you can say, I know you're preparing that document. You had my name listed as Sarah, but it's actually Sana. I have been meaning to correct you a couple of different times, but I didn't really know how. But now I'm really worried because I don't want to create more work for you or more work for the company or issues later. So I just wanted to correct it so that way it would be correctly noted in the document. So that's one way that you can address it that way. Okay, then what do you do if somebody is mispronouncing your name and you really feel like you need to correct it? It's never been addressed before and you have to say something. Okay, so what you do is, for example, imagine your name is Navya, which sounds very similar to Nadia, but they're calling you Nadia all the time. So again, let's assume positive intent. So maybe they heard your name when you were introduced as Nadia, because Nadia and Navya sound very similar, and Nadia is quite common in many different cultures. So maybe, people make an association, like I know that name, and they just associate that's your name. So if they continue to keep on doing that, you can say to them, I just wanted to let you know, as much as I love the name Nadia, my name is actually Navya. It's a little bit different. It happens quite often that people mispronounce my name because Nadia is quite a common name in, like I just said, many different cultures. But it's actually Navya. So that's one way you can do it. And why is that a good way to do it? Because you're kind of taking away a little bit of the awkwardness, a little bit of the sting of correcting somebody, because you're stating that you understand that it happens before, so they're not the only person. And by saying it this way, you're kind of making it into lesser of a deal than it is. Now, it definitely is a big deal, somebody's not pronouncing your name right. I'm not trying to take away from that, but you're trying to make it more easy to kind of move on to the next subject with that person versus being stuck in this kind of awkward situation. Okay, now imagine somebody's calling you by the name, like totally different name than your name. Because sometimes when we see people, we hear the person's name, but they remind us so much of somebody else that we immediately imprint, like the name is just imprinted in our brain when we see that person, even though it's not their name. Okay, so what do we do? So imagine that somebody is calling you Elizabeth and your name is Anna, which is a totally different name. Okay, so what do you do? So in that case, you just have to be very upfront about it. Again, try to make it as less awkward, try to make it as most gracious as possible. So when you run into that person and they call you Elizabeth, but your name is Anna, what do you say? Well, I would probably wait to correct them. Not in the middle of a board meeting, for example. So if it's in a meeting where there are other people and it's going to be very public, I would probably not do that. I would probably wait until it's a more private moment, soon after, not too long where it's kind of coming out of nowhere and that's also even more awkward, and just say, I know that you've been calling me Elizabeth, which is a great name, but my name is Anna, and I just kind of wanted to remind you because I know sometimes we get these, names printed on our brains and then they just stick, but I just wanted to let you know that my name is Anna, and that's it. Okay, so it's still awkward, but you've made it like lighter because you've shown understanding and you've made it into not a big deal. So that's the point that you want to stress. So I hope this is helpful for the next time somebody either mispronounces your name or calls you by the wrong name. Thank you very much.